The day I found out my brother was a ghost, I almost threw up my entire life's worth of memories. It wasn't a sudden revelation, no dramatic confrontation. It was a slow, sickening unraveling, like watching a beautiful tapestry fray thread by thread. For years, Liam was my rock. The older brother who always had my back, the one who taught me to ride a bike, who defended me against bullies, who stayed up all night with me when I had the flu. He was the steady, dependable presence in my chaotic world. We shared everything, our childhood dreams, our teenage angst, our first heartbreaks. He was my best friend, my confidant, the keeper of all my secrets. It started with small things. A forgotten birthday, a cancelled visit at the last minute with an increasingly vague excuse. Then came the business trips that seemed to last for months, always coinciding with family events. Mom and Dad, bless their hearts, just accepted it. Liam's always been a bit of a wanderer, dear, Mom would say, her voice laced with a familiar maternal concern. But I knew Liam. Liam wasn't a wanderer, he was rooted. He loved our little hometown, our quirky traditions, the smell of rain on the parched summer earth. He wouldn't just leave without a word, not for extended periods. I started digging, subtly at first. A quick Google search of his supposed company. Nothing. A call to a mutual friend from college who hadn't seen him in years and seemed genuinely surprised when I mentioned his latest trip. Liam? Oh, wow. Haven't heard from him since, well, it feels like forever. That's when the knot in my stomach tightened. I remember sitting in my apartment, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across my living room, and feeling a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. I pulled up old photos, scrutinizing his face. Was there something I'd missed? A flicker of something untoward in his eyes? It was absurd. He was Liam. The real unraveling began when I overheard Mom on the phone, her voice hushed and anxious. Are you sure, Eleanor? Absolutely sure? He hasn't contacted you at all? Eleanor. That was the name of the woman Liam had supposedly met on a work retreat 2 years ago, the one he was supposedly madly in love with, the one whose family lived out of state. The one he'd been visiting on these endless business trips. My blood ran cold. I waited until Mom hung up, then casually walked into the kitchen. Who was that, Mom? She jumped, startled. Oh, just an old friend. Nothing to worry about. But her eyes darted away from mine. She was lying. And for the first time, I saw a desperate fear in her gaze that mirrored my own. That night, I couldn't sleep. The more I thought about it, the more the pieces, that had always seemed to fit perfectly, started to look like they belonged to different puzzles. Liam's sudden aversion to social media, the way he always seemed to be off the grid when he was away, the dwindling number of people who claimed to have seen him recently. It was all adding up to something I couldn't quite articulate, something terrifying. I decided to go to his apartment. He'd given me a spare key years ago for emergencies. I told myself it was just a gut feeling, a sisterly intuition. But deep down, I knew I was heading into something far more serious. The apartment was eerily silent. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light filtering through the blinds. It looked empty. Not just temporarily empty, but abandoned. I walked through the rooms, a growing dread pressing down on me. His favorite armchair was still there, a book face down on the side table, as if he'd just stepped out for a moment. Then I saw it. In his study, tucked away in a drawer I'd never known existed, was a small, locked wooden box. My heart pounded in my chest. I found the key on his desk, hidden beneath a stack of old mail. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, it wasn't what I expected. No illicit love letters, no secret stash of cash. It was filled with official-looking documents. Birth certificates. Passports. Multiple sets of them. And with different names. My breath hitched. I recognized one of the names. It was the name of a kid from my elementary school who had disappeared without a trace years ago. Another name belonged to a man who had been reported missing from a neighboring town. And then there was a third, a name that sent a wave of ice through my veins. It was my own brother's name. Liam. But the birth certificates weren't dated the same. The photos on the passports weren't quite him, subtly different features, different ages. It was like looking at an elaborate, terrifying costume drama. I sat on the floor, the documents spread out around me, the silence of the apartment amplifying the roaring in my ears. Liam. My Liam. He wasn't just wandering. He was a phantom. A man who had meticulously crafted and lived multiple lives, shedding them like a snake sheds its skin. And I, his sister, his confidant, had been blissfully unaware. The shock was profound, a physical blow that knocked the air out of me. Betrayal warred with a sickening admiration for the sheer audacity of it all. How? How could he have kept this from us, from me? The brother I thought I knew inside and out, the brother I trusted implicitly, was a complete stranger. I spent the next few days in a daze, piecing together the fragments of Liam's fabricated existence. I discovered he'd been using different identities for years, moving from town to town, always staying just one step ahead of what? I didn't know. And the thought of what he might have been running from, or worse, what he might have been doing, was paralyzing. I eventually confronted my parents. Their confession, delivered through choked sobs, confirmed my worst fears. They had known for a while. Liam had confided in them, begged them to keep his secret. They were torn, terrified, and ultimately, complicit. He said he was in trouble, Dad whispered, his face etched with a pain I'd never seen before. He said he had to disappear. For our safety, he said. Safety. The irony was a bitter pill. I felt anything but safe. I still don't know where Liam is. I don't know if he's still living under another name, or if he's finally paid for whatever he